And when a woman pulls away, you should act immediately. What to do when a woman distances herself? Whether you were just starting to interact and she suddenly withdrew, or if the interaction was longer and she mentioned wanting only friendship, or even if you were in a relationship and she pulls away. Dealing with this is like parking your car and someone hits it. Various moments in life don't allow for complete control. If someone hits your car, you can't control that, but what you can control is your reaction from that moment on. In situations like these, it's crucial to understand that there are elements in life beyond our absolute control. For instance, if you're heading for a job interview, taking the subway, and then walking, and suddenly it starts pouring rain, you get all wet. You can't control the weather, but you can control how you react to the situation. You can choose to get upset or accept the rain as part of the experience. Just like in life, in interactions with women, there might be times when they pull away, and that's beyond your direct control. What you can control is your response to that situation. Instead of trying to control her behavior, focus on how you decide to act from there. Ultimately, having complete control over everything in life is not realistic. Accepting that certain situations are beyond our control and learning to deal with them in the best way possible is an essential part of the growth process and living fully. Living in some moments requires the courage to take some risks, because if you seek to be completely safe, you avoid relationships, don't take risks in new challenges, don't do anything. Life involves taking risks, making mistakes, and adjusting. That's living this experience, and it's not possible to have complete control over all a woman's responses. Every woman, when known, is like an iceberg. What you see on the surface is just a small part, and there's much more beneath the surface, at the bottom of the ocean. There's a whole range of emotions, experiences, and aspects that she might not share immediately. Similarly, you also have this internal ocean of unrevealed things. You show only a small part of who you are, and the woman you know also has her own undisclosed aspects. It's important to understand that having 100% control over a woman's responses is not possible. Each person is complex, with deep layers that are not always visible. However, what you can control is your own voice and how you decide to act from these interactions. Having control over your actions, reactions, and decisions is what allows you to shape your experience, even when others' responses may be unknown or uncontrollable. The first crucial point I want to highlight is what you should do immediately when a woman pulls away: admit that it affected you. Denial, in this context, is a confirmation of intensity. When you deny the impact of something, you are, in fact, confirming the intensity of the emotion involved. So, admitting that it got to you is an important step. By recognizing and accepting that feeling, you gain awareness, and that awareness, in turn, brings lightness. The second step is to observe the situation as if you were a neutral spectator. Imagine yourself on a stage, looking at the situation as if you were a separate person, devoid of any emotional involvement. If you were a neutral observer, removing emotional attributions, what conclusion would you reach? Analyzing the situation from this perspective allows you to make decisions more objectively and thoughtfully. This approach works because it enables you to see the situation without the direct influence of emotions, without being blinded by the emotional curtain. Just like watching a movie, where you emotionally engage with the plot, in real life, it's beneficial to try to see the situation without being emotionally involved. This doesn't mean suppressing your feelings but understanding them and making conscious decisions in the best possible way. It's a way to prevent emotions from clouding your judgment and leading you to make hasty decisions that, from a more conscious perspective, you might not make. And the third point is to make a decision. I'm not here just to provide ready-made answers but to empower you to think and reach your own conclusions. It might be that, upon analyzing the situation, you conclude that the initial interaction wasn't that deep, just an initial conversation, and when you went out, the woman pulled away. In this case, it might be appropriate to send a light message, expressing concern in a relaxed way, like asking if she was kidnapped or making a joke about the situation. This approach can be helpful in reopening the communication channel and dispelling the doubt that is preventing you from moving forward. On the other hand, you might also conclude that the interaction was going well, but something happened. In this case, a light message could be a way to clarify things and better understand the situation. When you're in the field of doubt, making a decision is essential to avoid getting stuck. If you think everything was going well, but the situation changed, it might be an opportunity to evaluate if you moved too fast. Ultimately, decision-making is a fundamental part of the process, allowing you to continue your journey more consciously. And maybe an apology is in order, a mature conversation to address the situation with this woman. Seeking this conversation may be an appropriate approach at this moment. Now, remove the emotional attributions from this situation and seek to evaluate the facts, setting aside intense feelings. If this was a situation where you felt humiliated, and your self-esteem was low, and your self-respect was compromised, consider if this relationship has gone through many ups and downs. If you perceive that there was a dynamic of push and pull, cat and mouse games, where she retreated, and you kept trying, maybe it's time to assess if this relationship is healthy. If she made it clear that she only sees you as a friend, you might conclude that it's better to delete the contact and the possibility of talking to her again. In some cases, blocking contact may be a necessary decision to preserve your own emotional well-being and move toward more positive relationships. So, if you realize that you need to protect yourself emotionally, it's time to have an honest conversation with her. Ask directly how she sees the situation and what game she proposes so that both can move on. This is the moment to recognize that the dynamic is negatively affecting your emotional health, surpassing your boundaries of self-respect and self-esteem. Reviewing the mentioned steps, first, acknowledge that you don't have control over everything, but you have a voice. Second, admit that the situation affected you, bringing awareness to the emotional impact. And third, make a decision based on this conclusion. If the conclusion is that the relationship is unhealthy and affecting your well-being, it may be necessary to take steps to protect yourself. If this video brought value to you, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Click on the subscribe button and activate the bell to receive notifications. It's said that only 30% of those who watch videos subscribe to channels, so don't miss the chance to join us. Strong embrace.